Welcome to Amatale's lab, where lying wives and sneaky girlfriends finally get exposed. From girls' trips that never happen to coworkers who are a little too friendly, we break down every red flag, messy receipt, and suspicious text with humor, shock, and just a little bit of petty. Expect wild stories, dramatic reactions, and satisfying karma as the truth comes crashing through the door. If you love relationship tea, plot twists, and seeing players get played, this channel is your new home. Every single chaotic, jaw-dropping, binge-worthy episode. Hit subscribe and never miss a fresh dose of exposed cheating. Don't forget to check our previous stories. Let's get into it. I met Simone Reynolds on a crisp October evening in Chicago, under the soft glow of streetlights that made the river look like brushed silver. She was the kind of beautiful that felt like a promise. Warm smile, careful laughter, eyes that held you just long enough to make you believe you mattered. I was Isaiah Carter, a quiet man with a steady job, a small set of rental properties my late father left me, and a heart that still wanted to trust. Simone told me she loved how solid I was. I mistook that word for devotion instead of opportunity. Our first dates were simple: coffee, a bookstore, long walks where her hand fit into mine like it had always lived there. She asked questions that sounded like curiosity, but landed like inspections. What I owned, what I owed, what I planned to build. When I spoke about my father's duplexes and the little two-flat on the south side, she looked impressed, then quickly softened her face into admiration. "You're different," she said, brushing my cheek with her thumb. "A man with real vision." The compliment felt like rain after a long drought. I let it soak into me without checking for floods. The romance escalated with a speed that felt flattering. Simone would appear at my door with homemade food and a new perfume that clung to my shirts like a signature. She played old soul music, danced barefoot in my living room, and sat on my lap whispering dreams about our future. On nights when I tried to talk about budgets, she'd silence me with a kiss and a laugh. "Isaiah," she'd murmur, "money will come. Love like this doesn't." I believed her because I wanted to. I wanted the soft lighting, the warm body pressed to mine, the illusion that being chosen meant being safe. The first time she asked for help, it sounded temporary. "My lease is ending," she said, eyes shimmering like she hated to ask. "Just until I get settled." I offer my spare room, and she rewarded me with tenderness, breakfast, little notes, phone calls in the middle of the day that made my coworkers tease me. Then her needs expanded the way smoke expands, quietly at first, then everywhere. A designer bag for confidence. A luxury gym membership for networking. A weekend trip to reset. Every request came wrapped in love, like a gift I'd feel guilty refusing. When I hesitated, Simone changed tactics. She'd stare at my plain watch and my careful shoes, then shake her head as if I embarrassed her. "You act like you're poor," she said one night, loud enough for the restaurant table beside us to hear. "A man who owns property shouldn't be so small." Heat crawled up my neck. I tried to explain that I was saving for repairs and mortgage payments, but she smiled like I'd said something childish. "You're afraid of abundance," she whispered, and I felt ashamed for being responsible, ashamed for not being the version of me she could brag about. Soon, she had me working harder than I ever had before. I picked up weekend shifts driving deliveries, then took on overnight security work twice a week. I told myself it was temporary, just a push until the business idea she talked about finally took off. Simone acted impressed by my exhaustion in a way that felt like praise. She'd rub my shoulders and say, "That's my man. Hustler. Provider." The words were sweet, but the pattern was bitter. My sleep shrank, my joy thinned, and my bank account bled into her lifestyle like a donation she never acknowledged. The property paperwork started innocently, too. Simone claimed her credit was cleaner than mine and suggested I move things around so we could qualify for a better loan on a dream condo she wanted downtown. "It's still yours," she promised, sliding forms across the kitchen table with manicured nails. "We're building together." I didn't like how fast she wanted my signature, how irritated she got when I read every line. "Why are you acting like I'm trying to steal from you?" she snapped, then softened immediately, crawling into my lap. "I'm your woman, Isaiah. Don't you trust me?" Trust became the price of peace. Every time I questioned a bill, Simone turned it into a trial where I was the villain. "So you think I'm a gold digger?" she'd say, eyes narrowing. "After everything I give you?" If I stayed calm, she'd provoke me with a cruel smile. If I got angry, she'd act wounded, call me insecure, and withhold affection until I apologized. And when shame didn't work, seduction did. She'd wear satin and perfume, sit close enough that my thoughts got loud, then whisper, "Let me make it up to you." Desire became a blindfold she tied easily. I started noticing the men who appeared around her like satellites. At charity events, a real estate broker named Trent Wallace always had a hand on her back too long. At a lounge downtown, Dion Price, flashy loud, always surrounded, called her baby like it was a habit. Simone said they were connections, part of her social circle. She laughed at my discomfort. "I'm not going to stop being attractive because you're fragile," she said. Then she kissed me slow, like she was sealing my mouth shut. I swallowed jealousy because I feared being alone more than I feared being used. My breaking point came in a quiet way. A letter from my lender, informing me that one of my properties had been refinanced. I stared at the paper until the words blurred. The signature wasn't mine, but it looked close enough to fool someone who wanted to believe it. Simone found me, sitting at the table with the letter trembling in my hand. She didn't panic. She sighed, annoyed, like I was inconveniencing her. "You're always so dramatic," she said. "It's called strategy, Isaiah. If you'd let me lead, we'd be ahead." I demanded the truth, and she met it with ridicule. "Do you even hear yourself?" she asked, laughing. "You're lucky I'm improving your life." When I said her name like a warning, she stood and looked me up and down. "You'd be nothing without me pushing you," she said. A tired man with dusty little buildings and no ambition. The words cut deeper because they were aimed at my fear, that I was ordinary, not enough, not worth staying for. My voice shook when I said, "I loved you." She shrugged like love was a small thing. That night, she chose seduction with a cruelty that felt rehearsed. She stepped close, her perfume blooming between us, and placed my hands on her waist like she was guiding me back into obedience. "Don't ruin what we have," she whispered. Her lips brushed mine, and for a second my body betrayed my anger. Then she pulled back and smiled, satisfied. I realized she wasn't kissing me because she cared. She was kissing me because she could. In the bathroom mirror afterward, I saw my own exhausted eyes and finally admitted what I'd refused to name. I was being managed. I started keeping notes. Not revenge notes, survival notes. Dates, conversations, receipts, copies of forms Simone left on the counter. I wasn't proud of it. I felt like a man spying on the woman he loved. But I also felt like a man learning to breathe again. I checked my accounts and found payments I didn't recognize. Jewelry boutiques, bottle service, luxury rides. I confronted her once more, and she snapped, "Stop acting like my father." Then she smiled sweetly and added, "If you can't handle me, Isaiah, someone else will." Someone else turned out to be more than a threat. I saw messages on her phone one morning when it lit up beside my coffee. A string of hearts from Trent, a hotel address from Dion, a photo of Simone's legs draped across an expensive leather seat. My hands went cold. When I asked her, she didn't deny it. She just reframed it. "You're being possessive," she said. "These men can open doors. I'm doing this for us." Then she watched me carefully, as if measuring whether shame would work. When it didn't, she touched my chest and whispered, "I only come home to you." In that sentence, "I only come home to you," I heard the trap. Home wasn't love. Home was convenience. I started seeing myself the way she saw me. Dependable, pliable, a safe charging station between her expensive adventures. I wanted to leave, but fear clung to me like wet clothing. I'd invested money, time, and dignity into this relationship, and the thought of walking away felt like admitting I'd been fooled. So I did what desperate people do. I kept trying to earn a love that wasn't for sale, while Simone kept raising the price. The stress showed up on my body. My jaw ached from clenching. My eyes burned from lack of sleep. On the train to my night job, I'd stare at my reflection in the window and barely recognize the man looking back. Simone, meanwhile, glowed. She posted photos in bright dresses at rooftop parties, champagne flutes catching the skyline, captions about manifesting. Her followers praised her. My friends asked why I looked so thin. I lied and said I was just busy. I didn't want to say the truth out loud. The woman I loved was draining me, and calling a partnership. One night, I came home early and found Simone rehearsing in the mirror, practicing a soft, teary expression. She startled when she saw me, then laughed it off. "Just content," she said, grabbing her phone. But her eyes were sharp. "Where were you?" she demanded, as if I was the one with secrets. When I said I'd been working, she rolled her eyes. "God, you're so predictable." Then she kissed me, quick and possessive, as if stamping ownership. I stood still and let it happen, because I was beginning to understand that her affection was not a gift. It was a leash. The next week, I got a call from an attorney's office about documents I'd signed. My stomach dropped before I even understood the words. Simone had used my name to secure a loan against one of my properties and had routed funds through accounts I didn't control. It was fraud dressed as romance. That night, I told her we needed to talk. No flirting, no distractions, just truth. Simone stared at me, then smirked. "You're not leaving," she said, calm as a verdict. "You love me too much." The way she said it made love sound like weakness, and I hated myself for proving her right so many times. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I asked one question. "How far did you go?" Simone shrugged and started listing things like she was reciting groceries, property equity, credit lines, a car lease. My heart thumped harder with every item. I felt grief, not just for the money, but for the version of myself who had believed in her. When I went quiet, she leaned closer, as if worried she'd miscalculated. "Isaiah," she said softly, switching masks. "We can fix this. Don't be dramatic." Then she touched my cheek like she used to, and I felt the last thread of attachment begin to snap. I made a decision that night, but I kept it private. I told Simone we'd work through it, and she relaxed immediately, already bored. Over the next few weeks, I played the role she expected. Tired boyfriend, eager to please, willing to sign whatever kept the peace. But while Simone chased parties and connections, I met quietly with a forensic accountant and a lawyer who specialized in property fraud. I learned how many documents carried my name, how many signatures were suspiciously similar, how many notaries had been used carelessly. Each discovery hurt, but it also clarified something. She didn't win because she was smarter. She won because I refused to see her. Simone's hunger for rich men grew louder. She didn't even hide it anymore. "Trent understands how the world works," she'd say, lounging on my couch in clothes I paid for. "Dion moves differently. He's powerful." I noticed how she said their names with a kind of reverence she never gave me. When I asked why she stayed with me at all, she smiled like I told a joke. "Because you're safe," she said, "and you're mine." Then she kissed my neck, slow and persuasive, and I realized she wasn't choosing between men. She was collecting them, each one serving a different need. The night everything broke, Simone dressed like a spotlight. She told me she was attending a charity mixer, but her dress was too sharp for charity, silver, tight, designed to turn heads. I watched her apply lipstick with steady hands and felt oddly calm. "Be good," she said, pointing at me like a joke. Then she left in a ride I paid for. 2 hours later, my phone erupted with notifications, videos, messages, frantic calls. Outside a crowded nightclub, 2 men, Trent and Dion, had argued, then pulled weapons. In the chaos, shots rang out. One man fell and didn't get back up. The footage was shaky, but the consequences were clear. Dion was dead. Trent was alive, injured and screaming. Police lights flooded the street like harsh daylight. And there, in the background of one clip, Simone stood frozen in her silver dress, hands over her mouth, eyes wide, not with grief, but with the terror of being seen. Overnight, her name spread through gossip circles like smoke. People who once praised her manifesting asked why she was always around men with money and trouble. She tried calling me. I didn't answer. For the first time in a long time, silence felt like control. Simone stumbled home near dawn, mascara smudged, perfume replaced by sweat and fear. She collapsed on a couch and grabbed my hand like I was a life raft. "Isaiah, please," she whispered. I didn't know what would happen. Her voice cracked in a way that might have moved me months earlier. She looked up at me and searched my face for the old version of me, the forgiving one, the hungry one, the one who feared abandonment. "Say something," she begged. I looked at her and felt sadness so clean it shocked me. "I am saying something," I replied quietly. "I'm leaving." She shook her head violently. "You can't." The next few days were chaos for her. Detectives wanted statements. Lawyers circled. Trent, now facing serious charges, stopped answering her calls, and the men who once bought her drinks suddenly acted like they'd never met her. Simone tried every weapon she had left. She insulted me. "You're nothing," she cried. "I loved you." She seduced me. Silk robe, soft voice, promises. Each attempt landed on a version of me that no longer existed. I slept in the spare room with the door locked and my phone full of evidence. At night, I heard her pacing, muttering, bargaining with a universe that had finally stopped rewarding her. Then the plot twist unfolded, not loudly, but decisively. Simone assumed I was trapped because my name was on the documents. She thought I'd be too ashamed to fight, too in love to report her, too tired to stand up. What she didn't know was that months earlier, after the first suspicious letter, I'd quietly transferred my remaining properties into a family trust my father set up years ago, one that required multiple signatures and strict notarization. The paperwork Simone forged didn't touch what was protected, and the loans she took out using my name, they created a trail that led straight to her. She thought she'd robbed me. She had actually built my case for me. When the investigators asked for my cooperation, I gave it, calmly, fully, without drama. My lawyer filed motions to unwind fraudulent transfers and freeze accounts connected to the loans. The forensic accountant traced payments from those loans to Simone's purchases and outings. I didn't celebrate. I felt hollow watching how quickly romance turned into exhibits and timelines. Simone tried to flip the story publicly, posting vague quotes about betrayal and toxic men, but the legal process doesn't care about captions. One afternoon she screamed that I was ruining her life, and I replied, "You ruined it the day you decided love was something to exploit." Simone lost more than money. She lost access. Her luxury lease was terminated. Her friends stopped calling. Brands dropped her quietly, like she was a stain they didn't want on camera. She came to me once, soft as a whisper, and asked if we could start over. "We had something real," she said, crying into her hands. I sat across from her with a strange tenderness, because I remembered the girl from that October night, even if she had been partly an act. "We had something," I agreed, "but it wasn't love. It was you taking, and me hoping." I slid my keys across the table. "You can't come home anymore." My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was precise. I reclaimed what was mine, cleared my name, and reclaimed myself. Then I did the part Simone never expected. I used the settlement and recovered funds to renovate the very buildings she tried to strip from me. I opened affordable units for working families and partnered with a local nonprofit that supported people recovering from financial abuse. The first tenant I approved was a single mother who reminded me of my own mother's quiet strength. Simone, meanwhile, had to face a courtroom without glamour, without backup, without the protective fog of my devotion. Karma didn't need my anger. It simply needed my absence. Months later, on a winter evening, I walked along the river again, alone but not lonely. I thought love had to hurt to be real. Simone taught me that pain can also be a warning. I passed a small jazz bar and stepped inside, letting the music wrap around me like a fresh start. A woman at the counter smiled, not the hungry smile of someone measuring me, but the gentle kind that asks nothing. I smiled back, cautious but open. Outside, the city kept moving, indifferent and beautiful. I realized the greatest twist wasn't what happened to Simone. It was what happened to me. I finally chose myself, and my life began again. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.